Oh, yeah. That's all out there.
Right? Going to go ahead and start the meetings. We've reached a quorum. Going to begin with our invocation. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to come and serve this town. We ask that you give us good guidance and discernment as we make decisions for our community. In your name we pray, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. We're moving to our first item, which is the adoption of the agenda. It's a riveting agenda.
Motion to approve. Yeah. Second that.
Any discussion? Can we just do an all in favor?
Aye.
We're going to move into old business, which is the project direction clarification on 420 West Main Street.
I could just do a quick context for this. I think I hope things go smoothly. Okay, real quick. All right, so the 420 West Main project that we talked about earlier, this is an update to that. The contractor is about to complete the original scope, which is around going to be around 74,000 when we talked about the 75,000. He's at 620 feet achieved. He's requesting along with Public Works Superintendent, if while the work is not yet completed, if you want to continue an additional 100 feet to the new valve for an additional $10,000. This will save the remobilization cost to come back out and complete that to the new valve at an additional cost of $10,000, saving the remobilization costs, including a $2,800 pipe cut into the existing pipe for a tie-in. Now, one thing I do want to say as I'm watching the budget, please remember, this was an emergency expense as part of winter storm fire. So the line items are going over on supplies and operations fairly significantly. Doing a forecast now to the end of the year, but the context for this was an emergency expense. I just want to make you aware that these line items will go over, and in the context of the overall fund, I think we'll be close to balancing, but I want to do a budget adjustment once I complete the forecast and then clean up the line items and balance the budget, but we may need some reserves, okay? Because we've gone over what was in the line items for this project. Okay.
Just a little more information. If we had, the reason why we fell short of getting to where we planned to, if we had put the valve where we originally planned to, the 600 feet would have covered the complete lot. But what we did is we placed the isolation valve. So this way, when we did the work, Epwood Manor was water, and the only person that was out of water was 420 West Main Street shop. So by us moving that valve forward back there, to ensure that Epwood weren't stayed in water during the construction, it shorted us at 100 feet. Just so we didn't give you the wrong measurement, and just the placement of the valve made more sense. Where was that to keep Epwood Manor or to just have everybody out a little bit. So that's what threw off the measurement. Our original measurement would have been fine. We put the valve in, but me and Ryan looked at it again to realize we place the valve where we put it now by your house, it keeps Epwood Manor in water and allows us to do the work without affecting those citizens up there. And we're only 100 feet short, like Stuart said, by us replacing it. That stops us from having to come in the middle of the night and turn the water on close anyway. It's the same age as the other pipe. And that money we save from having the guy from Richard come down to 2,800 to cover the cost of the pipe, because we've talked to the distributor and they're gonna give us the same price that they did originally, which is discounted rate on the pipe. So it's just the labor and the equipment costs.
And the money wise, right now we're at like 65 grand. Okay. So the only thing I've got left to do is if you guys say we don't want to go to the valve, all I got to do is put my fittings on, because we're staying to the back edge of the right of way, and the existing line is out near the edge of the road. So I have to just put fittings on to get over and then tie back in. And anticipating, and this is just guesstimate, I'm trying to give ourselves a little bit. It looks like with everything, with finishing, if you guys said we don't want to go any further, stop there. It looks like we would end up around around 74,000 total, and that's finishing where I'm at to tie in, plus the grading and the seeding and the mat I need to put in the little ditch that we recreated on the side of the road. But in that 74 would be the approximate $2,800 that Anthony said to put in for the pipe cutter to come back and cut it. So originally, when Anthony sent the email, just with some quick numbers, we were thinking maybe 12 to 18. But then we got 620 feet in versus the 600. So we were actually one joint past where we thought we would come in at 600. We had the pipe. So we just said, Anthony said, just put that one in to save the last stick if we have to tie in. So my thought is, and what we were recommending was we can save of the 74, that 74 I'm anticipating to be finished if we stop now where we're at. That take away another $2,800 off of that to go towards the last 100 feet to get to the valve, because if we do that, we don't need him to come back. He's already cut the section where we put the valve, so I can tie into the stub we have coming out of the valve and eliminate the $2,800 for paying him to come back up.
And the way we have the pipe laid out, if we ever do revisit a sidewalk project, we don't have to worry about the water line being right to side. We moved it that far out of that scope, so you have enough space for your 5-foot side in that 1 foot strip that they were planning.
Anthony, what would be the risk if you don't do it?
It's just like we were dealing before, it's the same pipe, same age, so we'd be right out there fixing it no matter what, because if we hook into the old pipe and turn the water on, it could blow right then, just like it did fast. I think honestly, me and Ryan were talking about it, I would think it'd be a great idea to finish this line, plan a CIP for next year and actually add more valves to help isolate the area more and go from where that valve is at to the car wash and the CIP. Just like we had that whole stretch of old transient pipe out of the ground, and then not only did we had West Street knocked out, but we had that portion there too. That would show the citizens that their tax money is getting used to upgrade infrastructure, because everybody has concerns about water, but it shows an active effort that we're addressing some of the issues with now before they hit.
There's the risk that if it's not approved, we pay this 74, you tie back in, it blows out anyway,
Yeah,
and then we
still out there working on it, and then we'll have high maxes like we had at the beginning, but we went back and took those high maxes out and connected properly. But if we open it up, it's just waiting though.
And the 10 grand, like always, what we do with y'all, that's just something that we came up with that we think will be covered. If we do it and it comes in at 7 grand, hey, you save $3 grand. I'm just trying, I figured an extra day in worst case scenario in case something unexpected happens, we've got an extra day built in there. If something, goes a little awry, it takes us a day longer than what we, anticipate.
And we exceeded the amount given to us by council underneath budget. Still underneath budget if you guys haven't started in maybe $1 grand, but we've exceeded that amount.
Wasn't that, the total is 900 feet, correct? Of bad pipe there. That's what
We
we
had 720 to get to the valve.
to get to the valve, but isn't there more bad
There's
pipe?
another, I think if we went from what you were talking about, I did a quick scale on the GIS, and I'm not 100% sure because I didn't wheel it, but on GIS, I did a quick measurement. If we, as the CIP, if you went from the valve, the new valve, where if you say to go ahead to it, from there to where it stops, it's supposed to stop at the car wash. I think there's somewhere around 450, 470 extra feet in additional footage at a later date.
Which is less than what we did with this part. But that'll tie in those both sections with new line where we don't have to worry about.
But is that 400 and some feet, is that as bad as
It's the same age
just
pipe.
replaced?
It's the same thing.
So we have the same situation.
It's currently pressurized and it hasn't shown anything like the other section has. But you gotta remember that section was freezing throwing the gravel compared to that black top, which is over by.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a different situation when you get to that part too, because you're not talking about going through grass and being able to reseed. You're going through hard top through the car wash. You're going through hard top across that. From
Yeah, I think we have-
there, you're going across driveway entrances.
Yeah.
You've got a bigger, it's gonna be more than just the pipe and the labor
Yeah.
and some grass seed. to, you know, backfill and grass seed.
Recommend putting the CIP.
So I think that's gonna be a larger project to look at from that standpoint, just because of the materials we have to go through is different. And I'm sure, I'm assuming owners that have blacktop are gonna want it put back to original condition or depending, but you know,
Want the warranty
they, right,
we experienced
What's that?
last year. They're gonna want a warranty.
Oh, really?
Well, that's what we've had to do once.
yeah, in other areas.
But possibility that that pipe could probably be more stable, just given that it's got blacktop on top of it versus,
Yeah, it's just not showing it yet.
yeah.
Yeah.
As long as we get the valve slow so we don't hammer it when we put it
Yeah.
on.
And that's what Anthony recommended. He was like, you know, once we get this part done, let's come up with a CIP, like, look at it and try to, we can look at it and come up with a budget for you guys and say, look, just on quick looking at what we're thinking for y'all to plan for the future for this project. We think it'll be X number of dollars to X number of dollars, put this amount of money in a budget or something, if y'all wanna look at it, doing it later at a later date. I mean, you know, just something to help you guys out for planning purposes or whatever, that in the future, if y'all wanna talk about it or whatever, you kind of idea, is it a $10,000 job, or are we looking at a $200,000 job? You know what I mean?
To do the whole line, how much more?
I have to look at it, because Sylvia's 100% right, and I think there's also some there's some storm drain boxes
Drain
that,
underneath the-
where those pipes that we have to kind of,
And there's a water meter literally right beside a storm drain,
yeah,
within probably a foot of one another at one of those locations.
Still definitely a slow process to do that, just because everything has to work.
And there might be, I don't know, I don't recall, because there were in that one commercial building, three separate there were three separate tenants in that building, so there might be multiple cutoffs somewhere. I don't know how that's all. I think there's just one meter, but I don't quote me for sure on that.
Yeah, that will all be put in the CIP.
Yeah, it would, but I'm saying we might run into more issues from
It
that
might be.
standpoint. There's also sewer line that I know comes from property behind the property that's impacted by this and ties into existing sewer line there too. So there's other things that they're gonna end up having to cross there that may end up impacting that.
Right now, it just makes sense just to tie it back to a valve, it's a known cutoff point, a known point where we're finishing versus leaving 100 foot of line. I kind of regret not improving that part in the last council meeting. So
You could have gone straight to that valve. The valve was put in, and the valve is on,
No, I really thought we were.
no, you're fine. The valve, just so I'm understanding where exactly we are, the valve that's near Epworth, that is on the western side of Epworth, is that
Yeah.
correct?
yeah, really heck side.
It's on the western side of Epworth, then it goes up to the new valve that was put in on the other side of 420.
Yeah,
Okay, so all of that, but we don't know, there is still some of this transite pipe between the valve at 420 west,
going to the
potentially.
countryside. I
Going to
found
countryside.
that it is an 8-inch transit.
It is 8-inch transite there, but it's only for a short distance before it transitions back to TVC.
And we don't know, the only thing we don't know is we didn't count the turns on the valve that's at 420. Because speaking with Brad, at some point, there had been an 8-inch extended back that direction, but Brad said he doesn't know, he doesn't know how far. So we don't know, and the other week when we filled the line, we did it so slow, I had to fill it and turn it off, so I only turned it enough to slowly fill the line. But my plan is, if, for our knowledge, if we can get tied back into the new valve and get that one on, everybody can be fed from the car wash end. We can turn the other valve on and off slowly and count our turns
See what size.
and see, is that an 8-inch valve or is that a 6-inch valve? Because that is a brand new fire hydrant.
Yeah,
So I don't know, was that hydrant, is there a T there and maybe all that was replaced by town at one time or not?
I know at some point it transitions between kind of 420 and towards countryside, it transitions from the old transite to a new 8-inch line.
Yeah.
But I don't know exactly where that stopping point is.
they're probably right there.
Because- And the reason I'm saying that is if we're looking to, because now we have a section in the middle essentially that it looks like that we're replaced. There might be a small section on that one end, on the west end, that we would want to look at replacing at the same time as finishing from Epworth, that
Yeah, that's what
Epworth
it's down
valve
to.
towards the car wash. Just so that we have a complete potential CIP from that standpoint.
Now you put
But
the
I know that's a separate
together.
issue, sorry, I just was trying to make sure.
You said CIP, and then have you guys review it and see what changes you want to make.
And then still trying to make sure I'm clear on where it is. Then there is a valve at the car wash as well. Is that correct?
I don't think they go.
To my knowledge, there is not existing. To my knowledge, the valve is. And what we found was, and this is crazy. The line, there's a new 8-inch line that comes from the Munford's old residence, which is closer to the McDonald Street end. It comes across the road and comes up on the Epworth Manor side of South Street. That's all 8-inch PVC. It's supposed to come to the back of the car wash and then turn and then run down between the car wash and the house next door. There is no valve. You would have thought they would have put a valve in where they tied in there, but we took the metal locator that I have and we could not find a valve. There is a valve in the road. We cut the valve off and we're guessing that is the old 6-inch line valve that came from Main Street around Kamek through the sharp curve and came back up and met right there. But in order to shut the 8-inch line off from South Street, we had to go all the way down South Street and cut that valve off to stop the water coming up.
That's why we had to cut off that large scale of the system because there wasn't all the valves.
Guess my question from that standpoint is so that we know for future, it's not going to impact this, but just so we know for future, if there is a break in that remaining section of line,
If the new section is.
what all do we have to potentially cut off?
Once the new section is tied in, they'll have a brand new valve on that line that comes out of the car wash.
So once stocks is finished, there will be a valve there.
Back of the car wash, there's a valve there that we'll be able to cut off. And now we have a valve down by your house. So if we have to work in that section there, the only places that will be impacted is the car wash and yourself.
And all right, those 3 properties.
Yeah.
Positive. And we don't know what the car wash because stocks hit to. You look at the car wash meter, it's kind of on an angle, like kind of facing back towards the railroad tracks, towards Shell Station end. And they hit 2, what were they, 3/4 polys?
Yeah.
They hit 2 3/4 polys when they were doing it. When we went over there, one was still hooked up, and the other one where they hit it and ripped it out, it had pressure coming from both sides.
So my thought was that it was wide, since it's a 1-inch meter, and it took 2 3/4 wide it off a single tap to feed that meter. Because I've never dealt with a lateral that's hit. Usually when you hit a lateral, you have pressure on one side and no pressure on the other side. But literally, I was trying to help them fix it because they couldn't get it, and literally there's pressure on both sides of the line. So there's got to be a wide into that 1-inch meter somehow to feed it to get enough flow for the car wash.
So there's a chance that both of those come off the way they were going, according to the plans that Stocks is working by. Their valve should be on the line after the 9U or the T or whatever that will turn and come up towards where we're at now. So that valve will cut it off, but there's a chance if those 2 lines were tied into the old line and do feed that car wash meter, that they would be before the valve that they're going to put in. So the car wash would still get water.
So I might be the only one. That's what I'm thinking is because there's a new line there, even if there was an emergency break and something needed to be fixed, the car wash could potentially be tied into the new line and relocate it
Right.
slightly if needed.
Yeah.
And I would literally be the only one without one.
Well, and my thought for that, my thought for that would be, if we put with the valve we have on now, if we go to there and that's new, we can always, if you're going to be the only one out, we can always tap you on the west side of our valve and just run a new service line for you to tie into your meter, and you would have water.
I mean, I'm not worried about it if it's just me. It's not a big deal. I just was trying to confirm whether or not we thought we could get, if we had a break there, I think that might be the only effect.
Yeah, we'd be able to isolate it.
Yeah, pretty well.
Yeah, so with the new valves we have installed and everything, we've got it set up so that minimal impact on.
So for right now, just to clarify everything real quick, we need $10,000 more to tie into the valve.
Yeah, up to, if y'all do like y'all did last time, say up to 10,000, I think we'll be covered. And like I said, if it only becomes 7,000, then hey, y'all save $3,000 and you know you got it to that valve, everybody's good.
Okay. And do we just have to pull that from reserves, or we got enough in the fund right now to take that?
Looking at the numbers, it's gonna be tight. Right now, the last monthly report in your February report that, B&L consultant did show that actual revenues to expenses in the water fund had a surplus of 237,000, but when I forecast the supplies and operating line items, they're gonna be way over. So it's gonna
We have 18 grand over right now, this was supplies.
it's gonna be, I'm gonna move some items, there's some vacant things and capital expenses I can move around. It's gonna be tight, we may need some reserves, I'm giving it upfront.
I,
Long
I'm
one.
not surprised from the money we had. I just wanted to check.
Yeah.
But I don't think we need to move anything right now. We think we're gonna be close. We can move it as we get to that point in the next meeting or few meetings. Okay, so I'll go ahead and make a motion.
Question for,
Sure.
is the $10,000, is that total with material and Brian's?
Yeah, because remember, the cost of the materials is getting covered by us not having the guy out in Richmond that cut it, that 2,800 will cover the 100 feet of pipe we need to tie in.
So technically 12,8 is what we're forecasting, but the 2,800
This one, Jeremy?
is already included in my original guesstimate of 74 is where we'll finish up. So
You allowing us to tie into that valve, Roger? We can use that 2,800 that we use to cut the old pipe and tie into that for the supplies to finish the run. So the 10 grand by itself is just the labor and equipment.
So the 2,800 is in the 75.
Yes, sir.
yes, sir. And it's in my forecasted to come in around 74 also.
The other things, in my opinion, is the mobilization. They're already mobilized. If you had asked them to dirt cover it back up and then come back and uncover it, you added more material, labor costs, and there's a synergy in the mobilization that's already.
I just don't want us to say 10,000, come back, say I need.
No, me and Ryan have done the numbers, Ryan's, we're already under budget. And that's, if you think about it, we don't spend the 2,800, that'll put us way under the projected budget. Have savings and we guys just have to tie in there.
So it's just an additional 10,000.
Yeah, just for labor.
It makes sense. Thing is, when we voted on it, it was gonna be 600 feet. And then remaining 300 feet or whatever, we were gonna get a grant for. And there was not gonna be any additional cost. But now we're seeing additional cost to get to that valve.
With that on me, I'll take that on me, I'm not talking about the grant thing, but I decided to move the valve to isolate Epwood Manor so they weren't without water, so that threw my.
Yeah, that's no problem, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, but that was
saying, we brought it out to the public that we were going to get a grant for the remaining. And now we're adding more money to it, so we gotta be careful with how we do things like that.
Yeah.
So the CIP part to finish the line, we need to call CHA, see if they have any access to any. It's for that big line for the CIP. By the way, any of their mapping, they're doing water mapping, does that help you in any way?
Yeah, so do we have a,
No, there's more to that than just CIP and extend that line. We need to check some other boxes too before we just approve some money for that. I do want to cover a couple things there at another time. Just, they don't have all the mapping ready for us to look at. They have some, but not all. But I guess I'll go ahead and motion for to approve up to $10,000 to finish the tying of the line to the valve.
Just because the last one, we appropriated, the motion had where funds were appropriated from. Do that.
We pulled that out reserves, didn't we, last time?
I mean, we're still.
Motion made here.
Well, I was just looking at it, you guys were talking about that, and I didn't want to spoil it, I've been working with Mary Johnson from the Louisa Water Authority. And we have a license for IMGIS. So currently I'm working with her to update all the shape files I got from CHA, so we have an active GIS you guys will be able to get. That will have all the data for water from CHA on there. You know, body it for you guys can see, it's all updated with the inputs and outlets and all that for sewer and size and all that material. Once that's done, I'll give you guys a run through it.
And I just work with the topic, but I want to look at the water model, the flow modeling, see, do we need another, we're doing 6 inch here. We have 8 inch on both sides. Do we need another tie-in to countryside to where we have both?
Honestly, with all of West Street should have been 8 inch. It would have helped so much with, we're seeing it now with our UDF flushing. There's no reason why we should be flushing a manhole on Main Street and lose water pressure at Purcell's or. That's what I'm concerned about those housing developments, like I told Stuart, because we're gonna cause pressure that I can never be able to it. They flushed the hydrant at Sage Building and 2 residents on Pine Ridge. So what do you think's gonna happen when you put 153 houses on that line, which is a 6 inch, and the back, the path and the home was 109,000 gallons a day? Not so much.
The flow, it's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah.
This board is gonna be shaking.
It would come out of, I think, the same line of contractual services for water.
Is that for charges? That would be,
Yeah, I think you asked, I think that night when the lawyer said, because I think when y'all voted, I remember like the gentleman with the lawyer had y'all reword what you said and said to approve, like how to word it, and then he said also say in there what fund. Recovery fund or something. I think it was something, didn't you say it was some kind of recovery fund or something, Stuart? Was what you mentioned that night? I think where y'all requested in
That
my,
would be the revenue. That would be the revenue source.
I think that's,
Reserves.
that might have been what you said, what they, you said, they were.
Can we word it to where we will take it from water revenue surplus if available, and if not, we will take it from reserves?
Yes.
Yeah, however you guys want it, I just want.
That way it gives us the flexibility to use the funds that we have available for this year if they're there, and if not, we move to reserve funds. What we pulled from, what we talked about, if I remember correctly now, was to pull it from the water reserve fund, not the general reserve.
Right, I think that's what.
Is where we were pulling it from.
Right, so I'm gonna amend my motion. I should reword my motion. I'll motion to approve about $10,000 to tie in to tie into the valve with funds from the water revenue. And if we can't do that, pull it from reserves, water reserves. This second head, is that fine?
I'm in my second. Well,
Second, with discussion, just want to confirm, so do we need to word that as an additional 10,000 to get us to the valve rather than saying 1,000?
No.
Right, we want to say up to an additional 10,000?
Do we want to?
Then that.
Sorry.
Is a second or, okay,
Any discussion? Your call.
do you have anything first? Okay,
Ms. Rigsby,
Four.
Mr. Henry,
Four.
Mr. Purcell.
Please. For tonight. For adjournment.
One question, I don't know if y'all need to put this on there or not, but this one question. When Anthony and I start working on this CIP to come up with a plan and a budget number for you guys for that next section from the car wash, any of you guys that are available, I know you have. Don't help us, meet with us with the site, maybe. Things in consideration when we come up with this budget number for you guys, try to be as accurate as possible. Okay. So as long as anybody's willing to help, we make it a team effort and just, get on that. We'll do that. Okay, good, yeah, I mean, like I'm saying, if we all need to meet out there, just go to the area and we'll just do it again.
Motion adjourned.
All in favor? All right. Meeting.
You're right.